Earth has supported life for almost 4 billion years, and a large amount of that period has been completely horrific. Many deadly animals are no longer there thanks to evolution, or else we would all be having nightmares every night. So, if you're afraid of giant insects and predatory animals out for blood, you'll be happy to hear none of these species will appear in your backyard these days. So, dinosaurs may receive most of the attention in museums and on film, but there were dozens of other gigantic, toothy and wingless creatures that walked the world years ago that were incredibly terrible. In today's video, we're going to take a look at 10 of the most terrifying animals, birds, and insects of prehistoric era that will make you glad you didn't live during that time period. So stick right to the end of the video and don't miss any portions. Also, if you're new to the channel, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any future videos we upload. Getting back to the video, let's start from number 10. Number 10. TITANOBOA. Have you ever thought about a snake that's 40 feet long? Well, that's what was the average size in prehistoric era snakes. TITANOBOA existed in South America around 58 million years ago, only a few million years after dinosaurs were extinct. However, because scientists have never recovered all of the vertebrae of a single animal in one area, determining how massive this species was while it was alive has been challenging. Therefore, it has been difficult for the researchers to know exactly its size and weight. According to a 2012 Smithsonian article, the researchers utilized the information they possessed and have calculated that the snake would have weighed around 1 ton. As a comparison, an adult anaconda may grow up to be 29 feet long and weigh up to 550 pounds. Moving on to number 9, we have number 9, ARTHROPLEURA. These millipede-like creatures were the biggest arthropods, or insects, to have roamed the planet. So far, the largest one known to us has measured more over 6 feet in length. According to experts, the big arthropods were present because there was a lot of oxygen in the atmosphere. It made up approximately 30% of the air back then, compared to roughly 21% presently. That, together with the fact that there was nothing nearby to consume them at that time, aided their growth. However, scientists aren't entirely sure why bugs became so large about 300 million years ago, so they don't know for certain. In fact, some of these arthropods were possibly larger than the greatest vertebrates. These arthropods, which feed on dead and decaying organic debris, have been around for a very long time. In any case, seeing one of this scale in today's world would undoubtedly give you nightmares. On number 8, we have prehistoric short-faced bears. Although these bears are comparatively smaller than many creatures of those era, but they were dangerous as hell. These bears didn't emerge on the scene until a few 100 million years ago. The name short-faced refers to their skull shape. Because they were short-faced, these enormous bears possessed a lot stronger biting force than current bears, especially grizzlies. Furthermore, they possessed lengthy legs and could sprint swiftly. Some of the North American bears unearthed in La Brea tar pits have weighed more than 2,000 pounds. Today, polar bears only reach 1,200 pounds, while their South American counterparts unearthed have weighed 3,500 pounds and stood 11 feet tall. Number 7 most terrifying creatures found from the prehistoric era is Epicyon. Before dire and gray wolves inhabited North America, this territory was home to an even bigger related of the canine family. In fact, the family's biggest relative ever. Epicyon was around the size of a grizzly bear and might have weighed up to 300 pounds at its heaviest, according to the Florida Museum. It existed between 12 million and 6 million years ago. That's like having 2 Newfoundlands or 3 Great Danes. it would have ripped today's bulls apart in seconds. The sixth most terrifying creatures found from the prehistoric era is MEGANEURA. What could be so frightening about a dragonfly? The MEGANEURA was the biggest known flying insect with a wingspan of around 2.5 feet. You wouldn't want to be seen by the MEGANEURA if you were a smaller beetle or one of the frogs or other animals moving about a pond hundreds of million years ago. They lived at the same time period as the ARTHROPLEURA, known as the Carboniferous period. They probably only lasted maybe 30 million years ago. The massive arthropods either died extinct or underwent evolutionary changes that led them to shrink, although the causes for these changes remain unknown. The argument is that they became extinct due to the rise of much larger vertebrates that were able to ingest these things. The number 5 most terrifying creatures found from the prehistoric era is Megapiranha. The extinct ancestor of current piranhas' jaws were capable of exerting forces up to 50 times the fish's own weight. This makes it a more powerful biter than the megalodon, which existed at the same time period. Megapiranhas existed in South America between 10 and 6 million years ago, when the snakes, fish, and crocodiles they presumably preyed on were likewise massive. Megapiranhas weighed 20 to 30 pounds. However, the current variant weighs just 2 pounds. Number 4 most terrifying creatures found from the prehistoric era is OBAPINIA. Obanipia regalis is an extinct stem group arthropod that lived on planet Earth around 505 million years ago. Obapinia was a soft-bodied mammal with a segmented trunk and a fan-shaped tail that could grow up to 7 inches in length. The head has 5 eyes, a mouth under the skull that faces backwards, and a clawed proboscis that likely delivered food to the mouth. Obapinia most likely lived on the seafloor, utilizing its proboscis to hunt for tiny, soft prey. The Burgess shale creatures were buried by a mudslide or sediment-laden stream that served as a sandstorm, implying they lived on the bottom. Obapinia's proboscis was most likely utilized to seek the substrate for food items and transport them to its mouth. Because there is no evidence of anything that might act as jaws, its meal was most likely tiny and soft. The presence of paired gastrointestinal diverticulum may improve the efficiency of food digestion and nutrient uptake. Researchers suppose that Obapinian crawled on its lobes and may have swum slowly by flapping the lobes, especially if it synchronized the motions to generate a wave with the metachoral movement of its lobes. On the other hand, it is also believed that the body was too rigid to allow for fish-like undulations of the entire body. The third most terrifying creatures found from the prehistoric era is ancient wolf. These ancient wolf remains of a species that was about the same length as the present gray wolf, but as much as 175 pounds heavier. Some of their remains are unearthed at the La Brea tar pits. Dire wolves had stronger jaws than gray wolves today, which meant that they were good at crushing bone. Despite this, they went extinct around 10,000 years ago, whereas their smaller cousins are still alive today. Gray wolf populations have increased in recent years as a result of reintroduction programs in places like Yellowstone National Park. One of the dire wolves' preferred sources of nutrition was the western horse, which existed in North America until about 11,000 years ago. Horses became extinct in the Americas and were not seen again until 1493, when Christopher Columbus's crew brought horses back to the continent on their second voyage. On second number, we have ancient American lions. These lions were the biggest predators discovered in the La Brea tar pits. American lions were roughly 20% bigger than lions found today. They went extinct about the same time as the mammoths and other huge mammals they would have preyed on, about 13,000 years ago. Researchers believe that the American lions, short-faced bears, and saber-toothed cats that became trapped in the asphalt at La Brea were driven there by struggling prey animals, and that as more predators became trapped, other predators became interested and went out to the sticky marsh. In other words, the predators were likely drawn to the prey animals' battle. That's why carnivores account for nearly 90% of all mammalian species fossils identified there. The first in our list of the most terrifying creatures found from the prehistoric era is the saber-tooth. Saber-tooths were discovered in North America roughly 13,000 years ago, implying that their presence corresponded with that of the continent's first people. Historians believe that saber-toothed cats were not just hypercarnivores with 6-inch long teeth, but that they hunted in groups as well. That is really frightening. A huge quantity of saber-toothed cat fossils have been found at the La Brea site. The presence of prey animals that were caught in the asphalt would have drawn these cats to the region. When crude oil rises up from the earth, it becomes asphalt, a thick material. Well guys, that was all for today's video. What animal or creature do you find most frightening and dangerous? Tell us your views in the comments section. Also, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and don't forget to turn on post notifications. See you in the next video. Until then, stay safe.